what if Luffy had the mimic no me. Before we start, if you like the video, like it, share with your friends, comment, and let's start the video. Comments. All, between work, my wife staying at my mother-in-law's house during the week, going over there every weekday for supper, then spending time with her on the weekends at home. My writing has slowed down. It will speed back up as my wife recovers more. She is my top priority and getting better every day. Though I really am enjoying writing. Sergeant Epsilon, very good question. I have a reason and plan for explaining why. I can say one will be easier and one much harder. Which is which? Shrug and smile, secret. Crime Saw 786, gut feeling will be better clarified in 2 or 3 chapters, then it will make more sense. No, this Luffy is vague for a reason. If he told everything he knows behind his gut, it will be like listening to Spock talk, then Kirk will tell him shut up and give me the yes or no answer. Spock. LOL. All, to people expecting instant haki for everyone, I hate to disappoint. It took extremely difficult life or death battles to unlock for Sanji, Zoro, and Luffy to learn armament. Give one cheat code to Luffy in Mimic, the others will not have an easy fix. Will they get it? Probably. When? It's a surprise. We'll say one will unlock before the Grand Line, but not who. Guest, not sure if all guests are one person or many people. I will try to make airtime more balanced, mainly I am trying to establish the romantic connection before Lemon. Also, I knew a female second-degree black belt in college that could beat everyone but the instructor of the dojo. Some women can be as tough as men in skill and overall power. Maybe not Zoro, and Sanji tough but still devastating. Disclaimer, I don't own One Piece or any of its characters. Thoughts example. Words example. Noise. Action. I enter the baratai and we get seated at a table for supper. As Sanji comes over to take our order. In a bland voice Sanji asked, "What would you like to eat?" Glaring at me. I smile at him. "Whatever you recommend, I know it will be good." Watching him glaring at me, I ask, "What is wrong? You look like you have something on your mind." With his temper rising, he asked, "Why did you set me up just to humiliate me in front of Nami?" I had her eating out of the palm of my hands. Looking at Zoro about to bust out laughing. Then back at Sanji still glaring at me. "Sanji, Nami is a professional thief. She was playing you as much as you were her." Watching him try to burn a hole in my head. "Yes, I set you up, but not to make you look bad for her, or anybody else. I blame myself for my brother's death even though there was nothing I could do at the time. If I had tried harder to teach haki to my brother, he could have had a better chance to survive when he was shot." Seeing him actually looked apologetic, I continue. "Not wanting to fight a woman is commendable. Denying a woman a chance to learn self-defense is dishonorable." Watching him with a face of shock. Sanji stuttering now. "IIW wasn't he? There are people who will not care to hurt a woman, and if you are miles away, what then? What if a stronger woman starts beating up on a weaker woman trying to kill her? Or worst of all, a woman comes here to kill Zeph, will you defend her from Zeph while she tries to kill him?" Watching him looking very nervous, not knowing how to answer. "You need to consider all the possibilities, just not the ones in plain sight. And don't worry, you will have plenty of time to work on holding back as Nami or other women are training on our crew." Smiling at him. As he nodded with a smile. He then vigorously shakes his head, then glares at me. "I didn't say I was joining your crew. Shish ishi. It is only a matter of time." Hearing Zoro also laughing. As Sanji leaves to cook our meals, we see patrons get up and rush to the window. Then a lot of them started to leave. As we looked outside, a big ship, possibly a galleon, was approaching. After our food is put before us, Jin enters carrying a big man under the man's arm, and a sack of treasure. Setting the sick man with a coat covering most of his body down at a table, Jin spoke up. "I need some food here, I have plenty of money." Sanji walked back in the kitchen. Patty spoke up, crossing his arms in front of himself. Standing between Don Krieg and the kitchen. "No one here will feed you, scumbag." Jin, getting mad, yelled. "Before you said to a customer if they had money you would feed them, now we come in with money and you will not give us food." As he said this, Zeph came down from the upstairs captain's quarters. Sanji comes out of the kitchen with a plate of food and a glass of water. As two other chefs yelled at him, he kicked them out of the way. As the other chefs get ready to attack, they are stopped by a voice from the stairs. "Let him eat. We never turn away a hungry man. That is our motto. Sanji knows that better than you lot. Let him feed the man. Now." As the men draw back, Sanji puts the plate of food down in front of Don Krieg on the table for him to eat. The tension mounted as Don Krieg gained his strength back little by little. "Sanji, move back before he finishes. Now." As Sanji jumped back, Krieg got up and gave me a glare. Smiling, Krieg said, "I will have to pay you back for that. You ruined my fun." With Krieg standing up now, we see him standing proud. His coat covering most of his body is now open in the front, revealing a yellow shirt and pants over a bulky body. One of the chefs yelled, "Why did you have to feed him, Sanji? Now that he has his strength back, he is unstoppable." Krieg, looking smug, demanded, "I need enough food for 100 men. Now." As Zeph and Sanji go to the kitchen, Zoro and I casually eat our meal. Patty goes to a section of the wall and opens a cabinet, pulling out a gun or cannon. "I don't think so, and without your men you don't look so tough." Pointing at Krieg and pulling the trigger. As the smoke clears, we see Krieg unharmed except his shirt in tatters, revealing gold armor underneath, and he looks unhappy. Before Krieg can do anything, Zeph and Sanji place 2 bags of food down in between Krieg and the cooks. Zeph answers, "Here is the food for your men." The cooks shout in unison, "Zeph, what are you doing? If you feed them, all of them will attack us." Zeph gives them a look that silences all of them immediately. No one deserves to starve. If they choose to fight the hand that feeds them, so be it. They will find out how tough us cooks can be. Krieg looks at Zeph. Then realization struck him. "Ha ha ha ha. You are red leg Zeph. The fighting cook. What happened? Why did you leave the Grand Line?" Noticing Zeph's peg leg. "Ah, I see, forced into retirement. Too bad, all well, you must have a logbook. Give it to me. With it I can rule the Grand Line. I had men, ships, and strength. All I needed to conquer the Grand Line is knowledge." Shishishishishi, shishishi. Keep telling yourself that, Krieg. Knowledge will not stop the man that beat you. And if you think it can, you are crazier than I thought you were. As a collection of gasps are heard. Krieg, glaring at me, asked, "And who the hell are you to talk to me like that?" Lifting up my plate so the last bit of food slides into my mouth, I replied, "Monkey D. Luffy, future king of the pirates." After the laughing dies down from Krieg and the cooks, Krieg responds, "I needed a good laugh." In a deadly cold voice, I wasn't joking. Seeing him get mad, I tell him, "How about this before you get mad and we throw down?" Holding up my hand and gesturing at the ship all around us. "Possibly doing damage to this ship you want?" Giving him a stern look. "You feed your men. And we can fight on your damaged ship, so there will be less damage to fix here." Smiling at him. Krieg, smiling back, laughed hard. Ha 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 ha. Oh, you are a riot. However, you have a point. If I cut loose, there won't be much left. I hope you don't disappoint me, kid. Giving me a stern look. If not, I will make you watch as my men go through everyone else. Come Jin, let's feed our men. Grabbing the treasure and leaving the food for Jin. Jin picked up the food and looked back, ashamed, saying, I am sorry, he said he was going to pay for the food that we needed to survive. He even brought some of the treasure. I never thought. As I spoke, he looked up at me. A man like him has no honor. Tell me, how often does he keep his word when he wants something someone else has? Not when it suits his goals to let them keep it, but when he desires it. Also doesn't count. Jin looks down, trying to think of one time, just one. When you figure out the real question I am asking, you will find your answer also. Hearing his name yelled from outside, Jin takes the food and leaves. As all of us get on the lower deck of the Baratai, I tell Zoro I will be right back. Krieg is not going to be needing something soon, and it would be a shame to let it go to the bottom of the sea. Disappearing from view. Sanji, standing beside Zeph, laughed. That coward running away at a time like this. I wish Nami could see him now. Smiling, thinking he will tell her. Zoro laughs uncontrollably and has a hard time standing upright. Zeph answers Sanji he isn't running away, he is robbing Krieg. He has already made 2 trips to somewhere in the Baratai. Probably getting it for that woman that left with his ship. As Sanji's jaw hits the deck and Zoro gets back up. Luffy reappearing beside Zeph. You saw. Zeph laughing, you may be faster than this old man can move, but I can still half see you. You had an impressive teacher. Be warned, those moves have killed lesser men. My rubber powers work to correct that flaw. That is why it took so long to convince my master to train me. She wanted to be sure I didn't misuse it. Also, not all the money is for Nami, some is to fix the damage that will be caused to your ship. Zeph gives me a nod. As I see this, I felt someone else getting close, oh boy. As we started to hear chanting from Krieg's ship, a big explosion and the ship started sliding in 2 different directions as if cut in half. What the hell? Zoro asked. There were more explosions and the ship started sinking and soon became nothing but scattered floating debris. Looking through the debris, we see a man with a goatee who is floating on a raft that looks like a coffin with a huge sword on his back. Zoro said one word, Mihawk. As I see Mihawk jump onto a piece of floating debris, he yells to Krieg that he has come for him. Then Zoro lands on the same debris, smiling at Mihawk. Mihawk, looking bored, asks Zoro, are you part of his crew? As Zoro shakes his head no. Mihawk continues. Then why are you defending him? Zoro, scoffing at Mihawk, replied. I don't care about Krieg, but I wish to challenge you for the title of the world's greatest swordsman. Looking at Zoro with a critical look, Mihawk in the most bored tone answers. You are not ready. If you grasp the level of power before you, you would understand the difference between us. Turning back towards Krieg and his men, Zoro yells back, don't ignore me. I have been training my whole life. I am ready and I will not lose. Watching Zoro place his sword in his mouth, getting ready to attack Mihawk's side, pulling off his cross necklace. Very well then, since you will not let this go, I will show you the difference. Turning it over and pulling off the bottom half to reveal a small 3-in blade hidden inside. Zoro scoffed, what are you going to do with that? Pick your teeth. I think wow, and I thought Sanji was overconfident. Guess they have something in common. In the same bland tone, Mihawk said. You wouldn't use a cannon on a fly, would you? Raising an eyebrow at Zoro. I am just sorry I didn't bring something smaller, but it will have to do. Zoro cried out, attacking Mihawk with all three swords at once. His swords were stopped by the tip of the knife. Zoro strained against the knife and thought, impossible, he can't be this much better than me. Trying again, Zoro attacks with blinding speed with one swing after another, with all of them being blocked or parried. The more Zoro got frustrated, the more Mihawk did not change. As Zoro attacked with power, Mihawk counters with skill, hardly using any power or strength as he parried each blow. As I looked on, I realized what Zoro needs to focus on in his training. Yes, he had power, strength, and skill. However, he relied too much on power and strength. Not sure how I can change his focus, if he survived. Hopefully he will. Mihawk, getting bored, asked. Why do you continue? It is clear you are outclassed. Yield and I will show you mercy. Never. I would rather die, Zoro proclaimed. Getting ready for a special technique, Zoro called out Tiger Trap. However, before it connects, Mihawk lunged forward right through the blades, stabbing Zoro in the chest, burying the knife to the hilt. Mihawk, staring at Zoro, thought. He puts his very soul into the fight. Asking the question, what compels you to continue? Zoro, standing there with blood staining his shirt, said, I made a promise to someone to become the world's greatest swordsman. If I yield or back down in any way, I will fail in my promise. So quitting is not an option. Smiling at Mihawk. Then Zoro lunged his chest forward, pushing Mihawk back, causing the blade to be removed as Mihawk stepped back to regain his footing. Mihawk sheathes the blade, and reaches for the sword on his back. Because you fight with honor, I will give you the honor of clashing swords with my black blade. Tell me, what is your name? Drawing the great sword that is 7 feet long, cross guards sticking out 1.5 feet on either side of the blade, and double-handed hilt. Mihawk was getting into a stance with the sword drawn over his right shoulder. Zoro started to twist the swords in his hands opposite one another at an alarming speed. Then Zoro called out, my name is Roronoa Zoro. 3,000 worlds. As they both attack one another. As they finish, Zoro's swords in his hands end up shattering. Standing up, Zoro turns with his shirt sliced open and bleeding to face Mihawk, sheathing his remaining white sword, and holds his arms out to the side. Mihawk raised an eyebrow at Zoro, then Zoro responded. Scars on a swordsman's back symbolize a swordsman's shame. Smiling at Mihawk. With a slash, Mihawk not only cuts him but also sends him flying into the water. As Zoro is flying into the water, I tell Sanji, get Zoro, cause I can't swim. I will deal with Mihawk. As a ripple leaves my hands and feet, traveling up my arms and legs to my chest. I disappeared and a shockwave comes from where Mihawk is. As the onlookers stared at us, my haki covered fist against the flat side of his black blade. Mihawk asked me, now this could be a challenge. Though I am not sure what the battlefield will look like afterwards. Watching me look at the baratai and the surrounding debris. After a few 10 seconds, as I back up and flex my hands, Mihawk continues. I didn't kill him. It would be a crime to snuff out someone with his potential this young. Smiling at me as I relax. I was wondering how long you were going to let him continue. I commend you for not interfering in the duel. Even if it was one-sided. Why didn't you interfere? Surely you understood what the outcome would be. I couldn't get in the way of his dream. Even if he could get hurt or killed. Glaring at him, Mihawk then asked, and pray tell, what is your dream? If you had asked me that a few weeks ago, I would have said to be king of the pirates. Mihawk raised an eyebrow. And now? To be king of the pirates, and my nakama safe by my side. Mihawk narrowed his eyes at me. If you have to choose. Narrowing my eyes back. There is no choice. Knowing he is using haki, I think as loud as I can. Nakama always comes first. Then smiling and relaxing my features I say, I will have both. No problem. Watching him smile as he chuckles. Luffy, we hear from Zoro on the Baratai. Luffy. I am sorry for failing you. I will never lose again. Is that acceptable, Captain? Yeah, Zoro. Watching Mihawk sheathing his sword, he tells me. Tell Roronoa Zoro I will be waiting for him on the Grand Line for our rematch. As I jump back to the Baratai, I hear Krieg call out to Mihawk, trying to taunt him into a fight. Hey, didn't you come here to kill me? In the same bland tone without turning around, Mihawk answers. I thought it might be entertaining. However, I have had my fun, and am getting bored. Stepping onto his ship. Why you? Krieg exclaimed as he opened some gun ports on his legs, forearms, and shoulders. Ayah! Firing at Mihawk. Mihawk turned and with a slashing motion sent an air slice that cut the shots, exploding them. Then it continued on to impact the debris near Krieg. When the smoke clears, Mihawk is gone. Where did he go? As I am standing next to Zeph and Sanji. Do you mind if I take Krieg? People like him really make my blood boil. Also, can your cooks take Zoro below and give him something to knock him out, and not a frying pan? Glaring at Patty listening in. Watching Zeph laughing, sure, no problem, but don't get in our way, this restaurant is our home, got it? Punk. Sure thing, old man. Sanji takes a drag from his cigarette. Hey Phil, raise the fins. We need to keep this outside the restaurant. Give us some room to stretch our legs. Smiling as Phil rushed inside. As the men prepare to fight, there is a vibration on the ship and the Baratai starts rocking. Then water started rushing away from the ship as something came out of the water, surprising the pirates and me, as two large docks came out of the water on each side of the ship. As the cooks filed out to intercept the pirates before they could get inside. As the two groups attacked one another, it looked like the pirates were winning until Sanji stepped in. After knocking the pirates back, Sanji tells the cooks that this is more than a restaurant, reminding them of all Zeph has done for them, inspiring them to give their all. Just as the cooks started winning again, a big man 7 feet tall and built like a small giant comes out of the water with a round shield with a large pearl on his chest, back, elbows, knees, and hands. I am Pearl, the second lieutenant of the Krieg pirates. So you might as well give up, because I have never even had someone get through my defensive barrier to draw blood. As he approached Sanji, he got kicked, knocking him back. With every kick, Sanji drove him farther back. Then Sanji jumped in the air with a roundhouse kick so hard it drove Pearl's block back into his face hard, giving him a nosebleed. As the pirates gasp and start getting worried, Pearl gets furious, banging his hands together faster and faster till the shields burst into flame. As he runs at Sanji, Pearl is knocked clean off his feet and back all the way into the water, putting the fire out. As Pearl got out of the water, he looked at Sanji. How? Everybody runs away at that attack. Why aren't you scared? Sanji, taking a puff of his cigarette, answers. I wouldn't be much of a cook if I was afraid of fire. As we watch, I hear a ruckus beside me and Zeph on the floor with Jin holding a gun to his head. Jin looks at me and Sanji. Give up and surrender. As all of the attention is on Jin, I reach over and pull Sanji's head down as Pearl is about to clash his hand shields together on the sides of Sanji's head. Then I punch him in the face again, driving him to the edge of the deck, making his nose bleed again. Jin, you know Krieg will kill Zeph anyway. He has no honor. Power doesn't equal greatness. And he doesn't have all that power. Mihawk took your entire fleet out and didn't break a sweat, I bet. Seeing my words getting through, I continue. Tell you what. I can tell you don't want to repay what they did for your crew with a dishonorable act, even if you think that Krieg may spare them if they give up. Which he won't, because in his opinion it will make him weak. Let this play out, and after I beat Krieg to a pulp you can ask for forgiveness. Jin looks at me shaking. And what makes you think that you can beat him? Shish ishi. Without even looking back I sent a first at Sanji, who ducks. As it passed over Sanji I covered it in haki, hitting Pearl in the chest as he was going for another sneak attack on Sanji. When it connects, Pearl's center shield cracks and shattered along with the Pearl in the center, knocking Pearl completely out. Better than 50/50 I would say. Shish ishi. With a stunned face Jin lowered the gun. Sanji is still wiping his head between Jin with Zeph and Pearl. Krieg yelled out, "Jin, you traitor! I will kill you all and keep the ship intact too." Taking one of his shoulder guards off and attaching it to his hand. His men go for their gas masks, putting them on. As Jin goes for his, Krieg yelled to him, "Don't you dare, traitor! If you do I will make your suffering 10 times worse myself." Watching Jin drop the mask and fall to his knees. While this is happening, 2 cooks grab Zeph and take him inside, along with Sanji and the rest of the cooks. I take a big breath as the canister is fired and Sanji closes the doors, stuffing towels in the cracks. Krieg is watching from the remaining debris at the cloud of smoke. Okay, men, charge in there and open the doors. Ha 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 ha. Let them get a good deep breath of victory. Ha 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 ha. As men charged into the cloud you could hear fighting. As more and more pirates swam to the boat you could hear people running across the deck, then more fighting. As the noise died down you could almost see into the fog. Making out a giant big man who must be Pearl, Krieg spoke up. Ha 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 ha. I knew that that pirate couldn't keep you down, Pearl. Now let's take the ship. As the smoke clears some more the pirates get on the deck to find it isn't Pearl, but an inflated Luffy looked like a small giant instead of a round balloon with his eyes shut, holding his breath in the middle of the deck. In front of him is Jin, tied up in pink rope around his whole body, keeping the mask on his face, with Luffy's left hand on his shoulder. As more smoke clears there are bodies lying all around, some near the doors to the baratai. Quick, while the gas is still active, open the doors. As Krieg's men rush at the doors the Luffy stretched out his right hand and grabbed one pirate, throwing him into 2 more. Then kicked and punching the rest, all with his eyes closed, facing straight ahead. A lone pirate was a foot away from the door. Sneaking quietly he looked down as he felt something wrapped around him. As his eyes bug out at the sight of a leg wrapped around him like a snake all the way to his feet. As the leg retracted at blinding speed the man spun like a top. When he stopped he fell to his knees, then threw up in his mask before getting knocked unconscious with a kick. As a stalemate started, one pirate started to get out of the water, stealing glances at Luffy. As he was almost out Luffy lifted his left leg, both paused, then as the pirate went back in the water Luffy lowered his leg. Krieg was furious. Can't anyone hurt him? He is just one person. Then Luffy spun around at the waist, exhaling with great force. People's hair was blown back, and the windows of the baratai vibrated when he rotated towards them. As Luffy finished he opened his eyes and the ropes holding Jin retracted back Luffy's hand, revealing them to actually be Luffy's fingers that were holding Jin in place. As Jin fell to the ground, ripped off the mask and was scurrying away from Luffy. That was so fun. I haven't practiced that in a while. Grandpa stopped trying gas against me when I was 12, and I showed him my trick. With Zeph and his people coming out of the restaurant, I look at Krieg with my hands on my hips. So are you through playing games, or are you going to still hide behind your own men? Because I am getting bored. Watching as Jaws hit the deck. Krieg was beyond furious as his weapon opened up to have numerous gun barrels all around the ring of the round disc. Firing at me, I ran towards him, dodging or catching the spikes shot at me. When I was 15 feet from him, he threw his cloak over his body with metal 3-inch spikes pointing out. As I punch him, knocking him to the deck, I see people on both sides wince. As they look at my black hand, they see it turn back to flesh-colored. Unharmed and completely normal, but as they look at the cloak, they see in the center of it a 6 in diameter area shattered spikes, and said spikes sprawled in pieces on the deck. Come on, Krieg, I know that didn't finish you. You are tougher than that, you can't play possum with me. Watching him get up as he throws off the damaged cloak, Krieg, glaring at me, unhooked his other shoulder plate and connected the two together, pulling out a pole and having a short blade appear on the other end, creating a spear. I underestimated you. But because of your arrogance, I will use on you my ultimate attack. As he attacked, I punched the head of the spear. As the explosion covered the immediate area. Ha 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 ha. He stood there and took it. What an idiot. Shishi. Yeah, what an idiot. Hey, who are we talking about again? I am confused. As the smoke clears, I am unharmed, smirking at Krieg with my arms crossed. All the jaws hit the deck except Zeph, who is also smirking. As Krieg attacked again and again, I kept hitting the tip of the spear. Finally there is an explosion twice as great as the rest. When the dust clears, Krieg is panting hard while I am unharmed but covered in dirt and soot. As Krieg lifted the spear to attack again, it cracked and fell apart at the movement. What? No. This can't be. I am the strongest. Like hell you are. Covering my hand in haki, I punched him in the chest, shattering his armor on his chest and back. The blow is so hard he flies through a chunk of the floating debris and also crashes into the front of the Baratai, crashing partially into a wall. Cracking my knuckles. Okay, does anyone else want to cause trouble? As most started swimming away, I saw Jin still sitting there. Jumping back to the Baratai, I look at Jin. Second chances rarely come around. You can continue on the path Krieg put you on, start off fresh either by yourself or trying to change their values, or you can join my crew and make a difference in this world. Your choice. I will not hold your past against you. Be warned though, if you follow the path Krieg started you on, you will be my enemy in the future. Smiling at him. Turning to Zeph's crew. Unless he does something new, his past is clean here. Please, Zeph. Zeph, smiling at me, nodded. I will give him a chance if you are willing to. After all, we all got a second chance here. Looking at the rest of his crew, who nodded. What about Krieg? Turn him over to the Marines, he should be out for a few days. I will leave tomorrow morning with whomever wants to come with me. Glancing at Jin and Sanji. Now I was thinking a 50 split for Krieg's treasure should be good. You can expand and upgrade. Zeph looks at me. What about that navigator of yours? She did not need that much to meet her goals, so the rest is excess. If she joins my crew after things are taken care of, she will get a share like everyone else. As Zeph, Sanji, and Jin are looking at me, I sigh. She has a prior obligation I need to take care of for her. After that she will be free to choose her own path in life. Staring at Jin. As I walk in to check on Zoro, I whisper. I pray she will come with me. With my haki picking up Zeph's emotions, I feel him smile. As Sanji is smoking on the upper rail of the Baratai, Zeph steps out. Leaning against the railing, Zeph asked. I know we don't talk much, but did I ever tell you why I saved you all those years ago? Watching Sanji shake his head, no. When I first saw you, I saw myself when I was a boy. My dream was also to find the All Blue. It drove me to become a pirate, to sail the Grand Line. I searched all through paradise to make sure I didn't miss it. Along the way I got discouraged and gave up on my dream, reveling in being a pirate and free. Then I found you, a brat with the same dream I once had. When you fell overboard, I didn't think, I just jumped. I have and will never regret my decision. As Sanji lit another cigarette, Zeph continued. While we were on that rock, my dream changed. I always loved cooking and wanted to have a place to cook for others. When we were saved, I had a chance at a new start, and I decided to give others the same chance. Zeph looks at me then. However, you never gave up your dream. I will never see the all blue. But you can find it where I couldn't. I believe what Luffy said, if the all blue is out there, then it is in the new world. But to get there you will need a strong crew, and to get stronger yourself. As Sanji is about to protest, Zeph raises a hand. Don't even say it, that young man is on a whole nother level. Also, you may not believe it, but he probably didn't use half of what he is fully capable of. I have seen men like him before. He needs a cook, and you will never have a better chance of finding the all blue than with his help. Look, I still want to know it exists even if I don't find it myself. Smiling at Sanji. So are we going to have to make a big scene of insulting your food to try to drive you off because we all want you to follow your dream? Or are you going to join his crew and find the all blue without us embarrassing ourselves? Watching Sanji laughing and shaking his head. As Zoro and I are getting ready to leave in Johnny's boat, Jin walked up to us. Permission to come aboard and join your crew, Captain. Permission granted. Glad you chose to join us. What changed your mind? Jin looks at me. You showed me and my crew more honor and fairness in combat than any opponent we have ever faced. I am not a leader, but you are. Welcome aboard. As Zeph approaches us, he holds out a book. Do you want my logbook? It will help in paradise. Nope. That is your pride and joy. Along with the history of your crew. It would be an insult to their memory. Besides, I like surprises. Smiling and watching him smile at me before walking back to the Baratai. Before Sanji walked out, the other chefs lined up in a tunnel holding cooking knives like swords out for Sanji to walk through. After Sanji finished the walk, Zeph spoke up. Come back and let me know what you find, I will be looking forward to it. Sanji turned and bowed down on the deck. I will never forget what you have done for me. Standing up, he got into the boat. Permission to join your crew. Gladly. Set sail to Kokoyashi village, and let's go save our navigator. As we set sail, I smile, my nakama are growing. Then I get a worried look. Does anyone know how to get there? Watching everyone laugh, Jin spoke up. Yeah. Every Krieg pirate knows where Arlong's territory is. So we could avoid it, even Krieg wasn't crazy enough to challenge him. Watching a big smile come over my face. He sighed. Of course you are crazier than him. I should have guessed, so we're going to save her. As I turn back to the water ahead of us. This is bigger than just her. Though she is a big part of it. No, Arlong is holding a lot of villages and people hostage under fear. That is about to change. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you liked it, subscribe to my channel for more fan fictions like this, and goodbye.